7:02. Let's start our Town of Frederick meeting on October 24th. Jason, yes, will you take the roll for us, please?
Sure. Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Tavelli.
Here.
Mayor Kreitz.
Here.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem March.
Here.
Trustee Padilla.
Here.
Trustee Mayhem.
Excused. Should we say he's not excused since he's in Hawaii? Yeah, I feel like that was rude. He didn't even invite us. Okay, thank you. And we do not have any changes to our agenda, correct? All right, let's stand and join each other in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will you pass this back to your right? Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's hop right into public comment. This portion of our agenda is provided to allow members of our audience to provide comments to the town board. Please sign in and I will call you. I do not believe we have any public comment signups for tonight, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that being the case, we'll move into staff reports. Brian, will you start us off, please?
Yes. Mayor and members of the board, tonight I would like to have the economic development team come up. They collected an award this last week at one of the state conferences, so I'm going to have the whole team come up and just give you a quick update in regards to that.
Great.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees. Thank you for letting us take just a few minutes of time. I have with me here Max Daffron, our Economic Development Manager, and Sierra Federer, our Economic Development Specialist. They're here, we're here to take a minute to celebrate a happy moment for the town of Frederick. This last week was the state's Economic Development Conference. It's the state chapter of the International Economic Development Council, known as the Colorado Economic Development Council of Colorado. It's held in Grand Junction, Colorado. The last final night of the conference, they always do an awards ceremony. And they give out a variety of different awards there. One of them is they recognize a small community of the year for which we were nominated. If it's okay, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read what the nomination criteria was for that. And then I can hit a couple other points that I had. In order to be nominated for the small community of the year, you have to have a population of just under 20,000. You have to demonstrate support for economic development, such as financial, board participation or lobbying, planning and investment in long-term development of the community, such as infrastructure, permanent financing of economic development, or targeted strategies to secure primary jobs, special project or development during the nomination year. And if the consideration narrows down to two or three competing communities, the community that is in the best standing with the Economic Development Council of Colorado would be the winning community. So Frederick was nominated to receive this. It was a really, really cool opportunity. The nomination actually included, I'll read off the things that were included in our nomination. I'll just pause also and say that truly none of this would happen without you, but for your support. I said this at the ceremony on Thursday night, that prior to 2021, there was not even an economic development office for the town of Frederick, and to see what's happened in not even 3 years is really truly something to celebrate. A great deal of that appreciation and gratitude goes towards you for your vision, for your dedication and support. Certainly the team that does this work day to day, they're the ones that really carry the torch with a lot of this. The things that were listed as part of this nomination include landing Project Olive, the Agilent expansion, landing a King Soopers marketplace, landing Toro in their R&D facility, landing Aquahot for their ribbon cutting is tomorrow, landing Hirsch Precision Products on their relocation to Frederick. That was on the business attraction side. On the business retention side, growing the economic development team, which we've done in the last 2 years. We've been able to add staff members, which is awesome. Launching the impact grant, which was Actually, was it 7 days that we had everything, all the funds committed for that? Yeah, just about 7 days. Launching the first ever business awards event, which is on your schedule for November. Becoming a board member of the Carbon Valley Chamber of Commerce. Other accomplishments include working on the Bridges Village project, the first intergenerational and mixed income development of its kind in Frederick, completing a downtown study with Downtown Colorado Incorporated, completing a target industry cluster study for the town of Frederick, served as the chair of NOCO Ready, which is the Northern Colorado Regional Economic Development Group, launched a new economic development customer relationship platform, Blue Dot. You were shown that earlier in the year. That's actually a partner of Economic Development Council of Colorado. Developed the first annual report for the town of Frederick and for the Economic Development Office, and then also launched IMPLAN, which is the financial tool that the team uses for doing input-output economic analyses of projects, which is also another partner of Economic Development Council of Colorado. All of that to say that it's truly remarkable to be able to take the time to celebrate. This is a time for you to celebrate. It's your vision. We hope it's your vision that we're carrying out. The team is amazing, and this award is just a small little token to kind of share that with you all.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I feel like you all just, you're just not successful enough. Expectations just too low at this point. No, it's incredible. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us and for representing the town of Frederick.
Absolutely.
In everything you do, not just award night, but that's incredible to have that many accomplishments listed and being said about our town and about your department. That's pretty incredible. We asked a couple years ago to help us give Frederick a voice, and you gave Frederick a lot more than a voice. So thank you.
Thank you. There is a video that was made that was shared at the award ceremony, and we can get access to that video to put it on our link. That's how it was announced that we won, is they had a video about Frederick. So it actually started with, some of our community events, our staples, with Frederick in Flight, talked about some of the other things that make Frederick, and then also showed some of our projects that were listed as well. So we'll work on getting that video, and I think they'll be doing some press release stuff too, if I'm not mistaken. Later this week. Okay. Yeah, great company. I mean, Windsor won the medium community of the year, and then the large community of the year. I'm trying to remember, Lakewood, city of Lakewood.
Oh, okay.
And then they recognize 3 legislators for their work as well. It's a politically balanced approach. They don't pick favorites on any one side of the aisle. And then they recognize lifetime achievement awards for people that have been doing this for, I don't know, longer than I've been alive. It's truly a lucky opportunity for us to be here in Frederick, and thank you for your support.
Exciting. Well done. Yes, congratulations.
Sure.
Award.
Yeah.
Case.
Yeah, we need a light up cabinet with all of our trophies. Can we do that? I'll make it out of this. I don't want to be in this.
I'm in your way. No, get
No, I'm not in it. No, you guys are in the picture. Oh. I mean, I look like I'm a princess back here on my desk. Everybody gets quiet. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Exciting. That's amazing. I know.
Yeah.
Hey, we're good.
No, thank you. Thank you.
We're good.
We're gonna have to practice our shock and surprise look
Yes.
when we win things.
Yes, we got to work on that. Yes, I like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it. I'm
need
not
to do
shocked and I'm not surprised. Okay, that's all of your admin report, right?
The only other things is just again, a thank you to the team for the Terror in the Town event. I know it's great for the town, and I know there's a lot of work with the communications team and public works and the PD, so we appreciate them. And in regards to the schedule, the team will be working on getting a more formalized schedule that will go out 6 months at least pencils in some of the topics. But just in regards to some things coming up, we do have a couple of meetings canceled, the 21st and 28th of November. And then I know the 19th of December, but we might look at opening that one back up for potential study session. And we'll talk about that more later. But other than that, that's all we have.
Okay. Any questions for Brian?
Nope.
No? Okay. Thank you. Those are nice updates. When will you know on the 19th of December? When will you know on that?
I know we're going to look through just a lot of the topics that have come up through the meetings and the mini retreat, and so we can probably have something out there by the end of this week, just some ideas. And if we want to move it to January, we can do that too. But our plan is to really put together information going out into the next 6 months, and some of it might move, but at least you have a good idea of what's being penciled in.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no further questions, that is our admin report for tonight. We can move into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a board member so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered at the end of the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any of your 2 items this evening? If not, some direction on that, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Tabelli,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Right, speak out of turn here if you don't mind. While that has passed, Anthony, I don't know if you,
I was gonna say that if you.
the youth commission appointment is under the consent agenda, but if you, yes, so it has just been approved. But if you have your applicant, now youth commission member who would like to say anything, you're welcome to introduce and spend a few minutes on that. I know you probably thought we would just sneak right by that, and I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you.
Were you hoping? I'm okay.
I'm glad you- because I was gonna say it.
Yeah, it's all good.
We did do her interview about a month and a half ago, so we're a little bit late bringing her before you, but she was a part of the parade and everything too. So this is Allison, and ask her any questions you would like.
What's your last name?
Hi, Allison.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm well, thank you. What is your last name, Allison?
Garcia.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for serving on the youth commission.
An honor.
Great. Do y'all have any questions for Allison?
I think it was pretty great. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Were you a judge? Is that what you're doing?
No,
No.
I was just
In the parade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just in the parade.
It's a lot more people at that parade than you think there will be, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. Any questions for Allison? Do you have anything you're looking forward to bringing to the youth commission to have them consider to bring to the board at some point, or any ideas so far?
Not that I can think of.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we look forward to them when you do. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Congrats, Allison.
Yes,
Yeah, welcome.
congratulations.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, well, let's move into action item D this evening, please. Autumn.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, trustees, Autumn Gonzalez, Senior Planner for the town. This item is a land use code amendment to Article 9. This item was created by Ellie Van Dudecom, the planning manager for the town. She's unable to be here tonight, so I'm filling in to introduce this item, as well as to introduce Matt Sura, our special counsel to the town, who works with oil and gas regulations quite considerably. With every item, we like to state how it aligns with our strategic plan. In this case, this item follows the community and economic vitality focus area, specifically 2.5, continue to work on updating the land use code. This is an actual land use code amendment, so that's pretty aligned with that focus area. Like I mentioned, Matt Sura has been working with the town on some land use code amendments. Mr. Sura acts on behalf of the town in all oil and gas matters. In this case, he assessed our land use code and, with recent changes at the state level, has recommended some interim changes to our land use code, which he's now going to go into great detail with. You can just use this clicker.
Good evening. Good to
evening.
see you all. Yeah, my name is Matt Sura, and I just want to just give a quick overview of some of the changes that we're proposing. And these are very small tweaks, as we've discussed. A major overhaul is still going to be occurring. These are kind of needed changes to the land use code to bring it up to date. And these are prompted really by two bills. One is Senate Bill 19181, which allows local governments the power to regulate the oil and gas industry as they do every other industry. And it also changed the mandate of the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission from an agency that is charged with fostering oil and gas development and protecting oil and public health and safety and welfare to the one that has the primary mission of protecting public health, safety, welfare, and the environment. Also gave you local and all local governments the power to protect public health, safety, and environment in the regulation of the oil and gas industry. And Senate Bill 23106 is merely, among other things, changed the name of the Colorado Gas Conservation Commission to the Colorado Energy and Carbon Management Commission, COGCC to ECMC. And so that's the changes that we're proposing. You know, the minor change of just the name of the state agency. We're also requiring substantial modifications to an existing facility to have to go through a permitting process, and also requiring an applicant to give information about any spills or rule violations that they've had over the last 3 years, and then gives you the ability to review those and to ensure that public health, safety, welfare, and the environment is being protected by this new application. And then the applicant must demonstrate that they have no outstanding violations of the ECMC rules before they can move forward. And that is about it. And I can go through some of the other changes, but yeah. So the other changes that were being proposed by the Planning Commission is just merely some wording changes, changing the word from time to time to periodically, removing the words oil and gas and the definition of the commission, and then just restructuring some language just for clarity's purposes. It didn't really change any of the meaning of what we were trying to accomplish there.
As with every land use code update, we have a list of criteria by which the amendments shall meet. In this case, there are 4 of them. They're listed in the staff report as well, and staff feels that all 4 of these criteria are met with this proposal. This item went before the Planning Commission on September 21st, 2023. At that time, as you can see, they voted 3 yes, 0 no, 2 absent to recommend approval with conditions to the Board of Trustees. Just like Mr. Sura mentioned, 3 conditions of approval are being recommended. And again, those are wordsmithing items, not much substance behind those. The last slide, staff is recommending that the board approve the ordinance before them tonight. And I have listed the 3 potential options the board may take. With that, we are now open to any questions.
No questions? Can I ask a silly question that I maybe need help being a human being today, to be honest with you? I, in my notes from the agenda review meeting, wrote, in quotations, new tool with additional permits, with an arrow to the existing oil and gas. Do you know why I would have done that? I told you I need help being a human being.
This is
New tool.
I think in regards to the biggest change is that this, in the past, these would be approved administratively by the staff, but now this is requiring all new applications to come before the board and to create a public process. Whereas right now that isn't the case, so that's a substantial change.
Okay.
And the other change is just clarifying, I think Matt already went over this, so I apologize if I'm rehashing it, but clarifying that if there's any substantive work to be done on re-drilling or re-outfitting a well, that requires a special review. 'Cause, you know, these things happen when their land's vacant, development happens around them, and then for them to bring in equipment or disturb the area that's now developed around, we want that to go through a more heightened process to make sure that it's capturing the additional sensitivities that may exist from when it began to when it's being potentially re-drilled or otherwise modified.
And then to offer more clarity, Madam Mayor, the word permit you mentioned, it's a conditional use permit. So that is the process.
And so, oh, I'm sorry. No, please. Go ahead.
Just wondering how many we administratively approve a year usually.
I don't know that we've approved any in the couple years that I've been here. We've had a couple of applications that are kind of ongoing. The last I recall was we requested them to go through the state process first and provide a lot of the documentation that the state would require before we would move forward with considering it. Is that accurate, Matt? I think you were involved in that process.
Yeah, and that was, gosh, almost a year ago, and we haven't heard from them since.
Right.
So-
And prior to that, I don't recall the last time, but it would have potentially been before I started.
The one other inquiry we had is someone wanted to add some additional equipment that we thought was potentially going to add some additional nuisance, potential noise violations, and so we asked them for a noise study, and we haven't heard from them either as to when they're going to go forward and produce that noise study, and then possibly come before you and ask for that additional equipment on that location.
Matt, do you think, in your opinion, this is going to give the town a better tool, more efficient tool to keep track of what's going on with these?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. It gives you eyes on anything that they want to do to improve their oil and gas location. Certainly, if they're going to be adding equipment that is needed for public health and safety, that does not have to go before you. But if it is something that is going to increase impacts to the residents in the area, it absolutely will come before you, and you have an opportunity to talk to them about mitigation measures that they might employ to ensure that public health and safety isn't damaged, or in some cases, if it's a really bad proposal, to be able to deny it.
The two that you mentioned that you haven't heard anything back. If we don't hear anything back on them, is there any type of penalty that goes to them for this, or is it not that type of an issue?
Well, I'd look to Jason on this, but if they are doing something that requires a permit and they don't get a permit, that certainly is a violation and could be susceptible to penalties.
Right. So there's a potential laundry list of options. You could put a stop work order on it, the project, to ensure that they're doing what they're supposed to. Whether or not there isn't effective, you could also seek an injunction from the district court, get a court order kind of on an expedited basis saying this has to be resolved. So that we have 2 or 3 different tools that we could utilize to ensure the compliance with getting a permit.
I just was wondering if we had any teeth that can be used, and they don't seem to be too concerned with complying sometimes. So,
I mean, I would have to look into the state regulations and see what additional penalties the state might require of an operator, because I'm just not as familiar in that area of whether or not them proceeding without a permit would cause additional sanctions or issues with ECMC. But I know on a local level, if people are doing work without a permit, we can cite them into municipal court, put stop work orders and other things in place of our own accord. And as we move forward with the potential for the oil and gas and or neighborhood services that's been a part of the budget discussions, we can look at what is a more comprehensive approach to the land use code as we bring the whole land use code up to date, but also the section that provides additional authorities. This measure before you this evening is more of the immediate stopgap of some immediate issues, but it's not to say that we're done looking at this section for improvements.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Any other questions? No? Some direction on item D would be helpful, please.
Here I move that the ordinance number 1389 be approved as is.
Second.
Us adding what the planning commission added to it.
They did.
I do believe it's part of it now, yes?
Yeah, we've already made those.
You've already done it.
amendments.
Okay, thanks.
Reminder though, thank you. There's a motion on the floor, yes?
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Trustee Trevally?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for coming to the town of Frederick tonight. Appreciate you. Thanks, Autumn. All right, action item E. Tracy, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and trustees. I'm here to give you a quarterly report on our grant process for submissions. I hope to do this on a quarterly basis with you to streamline the grant approval process. First, I just wanted to touch on what I strive for and what the grant office strives for when we do our grant submissions is to touch all the priorities for our plans. And one way that we're trying to do that is with a database that we're creating. And so we'll be creating a local, state, and national funding database, and it'll be tied to our strategic plan. So that way department staff can look for submissions, and do planning for that. Let's see here. This is our submissions for this year up to October. Right now we don't have October's, and that will be presented in January. I'm pleased to announce that 2 weeks ago we were awarded the fentanyl, which is the True Narc equipment for our police department. So that's in $29,000. Last week, we were awarded from the Department of Criminal Justice $64,000, and this will support one police officer to attend training for 2024. We also were awarded not officially yet, the Bail Victim Assistance Program. That's a continuation of grant award. And currently, we're waiting on 2 grants. One that we submitted to the federal government, the COPS grant, and appropriations for the CDBG fund for our minor home repair. So those, I can't give you an estimate because there's nobody working right now in Washington, D.C. So we hope maybe by the end of the year we will have some funding available. The COPS grant was supposed to start in October, as well as the CDBG. So you can't see it. The total amount before the special appropriations is $684, and then with the appropriations is $100,000, and then we are also have maybe was it 200 for you, and then additional 10,000. So this is a breakdown of our awarded grants. We have a dashboard that we do monthly that I don't have, some grants I don't have in my dashboard yet because I don't have the contracts. So I don't put them in the dashboard yet until. For 2024, we hope to continue what we're doing right now is submitting 3 to 5 grants a quarter. I personally would like 5 grants a quarter. Brian, I don't know. Because as we move forward, we'll be catching up with everything that we're getting. So we could be managing 10 grants right now, starting in January, and that's going to be fun. And yeah, so it's a very exciting time. Personally, our department met with a local funder today, and the funder said we're right on time where we should be as a municipality. So I thought that was a great. So any questions? And what I recommend is to approve the 2023R42, which is the approval to give the mayor signing authority if awarded the grants.
If I could just add, part of the the approach we're trying to take is to bundle these on a quarterly basis of all the grants that we might be going for, so that you all have an opportunity to see what those are. Whether we get them or not has yet to be determined, but rather than having this scenario where we're trying to add things to the agenda very last minute to try to get a signing approval to meet the deadlines of a grant that's awarded, bringing these in packages so that the board can see them, authorize the mayor to sign them, and then if and when we get the grants, we can move forward with them without having to come back to the board multiple times over.
Yeah, it does.
Can you go back to the previous slide? I didn't finish reading them.
Oh, yeah. And we can send this out if you'd like to have that.
That would be great.
Yeah. I think it's a great tool to have what we're preparing for next year. I do want to make one comment when it comes to anything to do with the infrastructure. With the Infrastructure Act, is that we have to remember that act is really based on community impact. And so, when we see like all these grants coming out, the road, the resilient grant or infra grant, anything that has to do road work, the federal government is really looking at communities coming together. So it's not really like a single application. They would look at Firestone, Frederick, and Tacona, all these coming together to apply for grants like that.
With something like that, if we would attempt to do that, we would have to get written agreement from the other community.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. Any other questions for Tracy?
This is great.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. Yes, thank you. Look forward to it. Thank you.
We need to have approval.
Yeah. No kidding. I'll work on it again. All right.
Go ahead.
No, please.
I recommend and move approval of resolution number 23R42, a resolution approving the 2023 grant submissions.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem March,
Yes.
Trustee DeBelli,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Resolution passes 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy, for all of your efforts and yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, action item F, 23R43. You're not Alan.
I am not Alan. I'm filling in. He's at a conference. So I'll do my best. So I'm bringing forward tonight the awarding the contract for the owner's representation construction manager services for design and construction of the public works facility at 7400 Eagle Boulevard. The two strategic plans that this project is aligned with is strategic reliability and sustainable infrastructure and fiscally responsible governance. Back in July, the town solicited proposals for an owner's rep construction management services. 9 firms submitted proposals. And the selection committee reviewed those 9 proposals based off criteria and scope of services. From that, we are recommending awarding the contract to Dunn-Achille Management Group. Within the contract, this will attain them for necessary services for the level of expertise for the construction of the public works facility. These services will include assistance with design, development, construction documents, leading the bidding process for design and construction, overseeing the construction process, assisting with project closeout,
and assistance during the warranty period. The town is recommending that the board award this contract and approve resolution 23R43. The funding for this contract is within budget from the capital facilities fund in an amount not to exceed $177,120. And I'm here to answer any other questions.
Questions for Jason, Allen? No?
Alan?
Jason, Allen.
Jason, reading through this whole packet that Danica, it sounds like it was very interesting for me to read through that whole, all that information.
Mhm.
I want to say that. Found it to be a enlightening situation for exploring how they're explaining how they're going to explore what we need and working with us. I'm happy that this has been presented this way.
Yeah, they put together a pretty well thought out proposal. During the proposal process, when we were reviewing, we actually interviewed some of the top firms we wanted to move forward. So there's actually an interview process as well. So again, through that process, along with the proposal they submitted, it was a pretty unanimous vote from the selection committee for them to be the top choice.
I could just add briefly, I know Alan's not here tonight, but he did a phenomenal job of really working through this process. And when we got down to the couple finalist candidates and trying to understand why there was differences in their bids, and especially to the tune of $100,000 plus, and he really drilled into that with both of those candidates to determine exactly why those differences existed, and making sure that we're getting what we need and not paying for things that we don't need. Oh, and so I think I just wanted to give him a kudos.
Good.
Have everything they need for this item?
Yes.
Thank you, Jason.
Correction.
Yes, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of Resolution 23R43, authorizing the mayor to execute the professional services agreement between the town of Frederick and Dunakilly Management Group Corporation.
Second.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item G. Hi.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Trustees. Before you tonight for consideration is the Central County Water District Contract Addendum. This is in line with our strategic, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure goal. It is a definite benefit to the town to approve this addendum, adding water to a portfolio that we otherwise would not have been able to make beneficial use of. So the town and Central, we first executed an agreement in 1988. This was in response to not being able to treat water out of Millback due to water quality issues that arose around that time. There was some water quality feasibility studies done on behalf of the town to determine what the options were, and with the quality issues, it made a lot more sense to go with a new water source that was a higher quality than we could have produced out of Millback. The main term of the contract that's going to be amended with this addendum is the assumed water loss between Carter Lake Filter Plant and the town of Frederick. The original agreement assumed a 20% loss, and it's proposed to reduce it down to a 12% loss. This is in response to a case that Central World County Water District in Firestone had, and are either completely finished that case, or they're at least going through the final moments of getting that resolved on both their ends. we had met with Central County Water District's district manager to discuss that, and he expressed to us that they would be reaching out and offering the same change in the water loss to all wholesale supply contracts like the town has with Central Weld. So one big question that I imagine a lot of people have is, where is that water going to go? So we still have a bit of a deficit, a small deficit in our CBT supplies. So it really goes towards those committed cash in lieu commitments that the town has. This is just a simple diagram to show out of converting that CBT to acre feet, it gets rid of a good chunk of that committed water. So the next steps, first would be to execute the contract addendum. We've talked to our consultant, Element Water Consulting, about updating the water supply plans so that way we can incorporate that and change the existing assumptions in our plans that's based on that 20% loss. And we will continue to monitor the town's portfolio using a water supply planning tool. That's what I'm using to identify what's that surplus or what's that deficit between our current portfolio and our commitments based on, there's a lot of different items that you can change on that spreadsheet, but based on a really conservative estimate. And that's it. If you guys have any questions for me tonight.
Sarah, after the, as you're running those calculations after this evening, and if this item passes, and we move forward with the new allocations, what would your conservative estimate be on what we still need to obtain?
It was 157, and I can't remember if that was CBT units or acre feet.
Okay.
But that was the number. That was the deficit when you're looking at the most conservative.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't know whether that's acre feet or.
No, I'd have to look at it again. I just can't remember because the spreadsheet has both both units in it. So.
Okay.
Helpful either way. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Any questions for Sarah? Huh? Okay.
Tough one.
Yes.
Getting water added is really hard to approve.
What do you do? Okay, some direction, please, Sarah. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of Resolution 23R44, a resolution of the town of Frederick, Colorado, approving addendum to agreement between Frederick and Central Weld County Water District concerning domestic potable water service.
Second.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Tavelli?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, Colby. Action item H, please. Space advisor bylaws.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. I am here tonight to talk about the Parks, Open Space, and Trails Commission to reestablish as the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Commission and approve their bylaws. I'm going to screw that up because we've been around on the name for a long time. So we first started these bylaws, to give you a little background, late last summer. So the first time the Post Commission saw these was about November and December, and then we tabled them for a number of other things. So they've kind of sat there for a while. And at the last two meetings we've brought them back up and kind of been over. So this stuff sits for a while, opinions change and that kind of thing. So we've been around a little bit on a few things. Our strategic plan alignment, you could easily make the argument it's the entire thing. Having a citizen advisory committee that oversees a specific operation of government is always a good thing. It provides additional transparency, it's additional oversight, it's folks that have expertise in that particular area, helping advise staff and the board on the direction that we should go. So this resolution tonight does two things. It reestablishes the commission itself, and then it authorizes the bylaws of the commission. So you might be asking, why reestablish when the municipal code was passed last year for commissions and committees? It didn't specifically create this commission. It did create the ability for your group to create a commission by resolution. So before we approved bylaws, we wanted to make sure we had the commission in the first place as far as paper was concerned. So the commission approved these unanimously at their October 11th meeting. They did have some minor modifications from what we presented at that time, but those changes have been reflected and are in your packet. So the big change to the name, it prescribes recreation as a primary focus. And this was a conversation we had last fall into last winter. And it's been something I think that we've really kind of reestablished throughout the summer as we've talked more about the golf course and our relationship with CVPRD. It really highlights and brings under the post commission's purview the golf course itself, especially the operations and the finances, fees and expenses. You guys have said several times, treating that as a true recreational amenity. So while it is just a name change, it does bring in some of those other priorities to that group. Obviously, highlighting the partnership with CVPRD. One of the post commissioners made the comment that would this be confusing that we're trying to take something from CVPRD? And I said, well, it could be, I suppose, from the public. We'll do outreach on that. But in reality, it's really meant to be the exact opposite. It's to really reinforce that we should have one of those commission members, as kind of a liaison to their board and vice versa, so that we have those big strategic conversations ongoing all the time. When we do a post master plan or something like that, they're not just showing up once a quarter involved in it, that they're truly involved at the ground level on those things. And I kind of already talked why we're reestablishing. So what's the purpose? Not that dissimilar from what you've probably seen in the past. What's in bold there is the broad purpose. It's advise town staff and the board on all matters pertaining to what my department does. What we've done in these bylaws, though, is we've specifically encouraged the commission to look at these 6 other things. That certainly doesn't limit them to that 6, but that's the 6 really big things that on a monthly basis when they meet, that's the types of things that staff is going to bring to them and they're going to ask for. The higher level stuff, big ticket items. And basically it's strategic planning, maintenance and access levels of service, user fees, land use policies for new private development parks, acquisition or redevelopment of lands, and then of course strategic partnerships. And that's one of the big ads that we had that they hadn't done a lot in the past, but really trying to leverage those public resources to the highest extent possible. The bylaws themselves, they are unique to Frederick. We didn't copy them from anywhere, but they're pretty close to what other communities have. Just a real quick kind of overview, they'll have 2 officers, a chair and a vice chair. They're elected on a yearly basis, and they'll be elected in May. Those officers and commissioners may be removed by the board at any time. That's per municipal code. The commissioners may remove an officer, but they may not remove a member of the commission. And again, that's in municipal code. So meetings will be monthly. The chair can call special meetings and study sessions. We never know when we're going to have a planning project or we need to take a deeper dive into something. All the meetings are open to the public. They do have a designated public comment period. And the whole time I've been here, we've only had 1 person show up, but that will change someday, and we want to be ready. So we will have a designated comment period. You might be asking, why no standing committees? When you have commissions like this, standing committees can turn into 3 people in charge of the whole thing and nobody else gets a say. So we specifically wrote in that those are not allowed. The group may have ad hoc committees by majority vote only. That way we don't get that power struggle or something like that. The ethics are the same thing that are listed in municipal code. No difference there. And then amendments have to come back to this board for approval.
Going back just a couple of slides for me, please. Right after the, oh yes, right there.
That one?
Was the only item that I would have been supportive of in seeing in this purpose, and maybe it's in here and it just doesn't reflect as such in my lack of cognitive ability today, is we've talked for years about, and maybe the land use policy is helpful in this regard, but about the post or prost commission being involved in the design standards of our parks.
Yep.
Do you see that as reflective in this?
Exactly what I see in the land use
Okay,
policy.
okay.
Group sets the helps create that land use
Great.
code, and then staff, much like we do at the planning department, oversees the actual checking when those things come in that they meet that code, and then taking that to the commission occasionally to anytime it needs revamped or we find an issue, something like that. Not that dissimilar than the planning commission for the rest of the land use code. But to try to bring an entire development review to that group every time we have one is a little tedious. So rather have them focus on the high level, set the standard, and then let staff take it from there.
Yeah, and maybe we haven't had the lengthy discussions on potential land use changes in a while, but that's an area of gray matter from my perspective. Is you've got developments who say we followed the land use code and we put the type of park in you said you would accept. But to me, design standards go another level and another, step in saying, well, we don't have a basketball court, or we need teeter totters, or you see what I'm saying? And
Autumn and I are actually working on a minor rewrite of the parks and open space section of the land use code right now. That should come before you probably first quarter of next year. In our budget for 2024, we've put in for a larger rewrite of the land use code and the design standards. That way we have that in the engineering side as well. And that we'll have that probably as a part of a larger rewrite of our existing system master plan, but a lot of that'll be staff legwork. So trying to get kind of an interim update. So just in case anything comes down the line very soon, it's better than it was, but then looking a little longer term into next year.
I appreciate this. I think this helps this committee of very eager and active, community members to even have a louder voice in the development of parks, open space, and trails.
We're actually getting so many things going on. Our meetings are starting to drag into like 3 and 4 hours.
Nice.
So maybe we'll have to go to twice a month.
Yeah. We're set that 9 p.m. limit, man. Okay, this is helpful. Thank you for the clarification.
I just want to comment. This is something that I was really anxious to see us do a couple, 3 years ago. I talked to Brian not too long after he came on. Him and I talked about this very thing taking place. So it's great that you're on board and to guide us and to get this thing going. So I'm excited about this. You're going to see a lot of good things come around. Give it time.
And Chairman Gill and a couple of the other ones, we're going to try to make it tonight, but they are watching on the live stream.
Oh,
So.
well, thank you for all you do. Yeah, they're here in spirit. Good.
And if I could, from big picture perspective, we've been working with the Planning Commission to update their bylaws, and so I think we've got a product that we can bring to the board for approval. The Youth Commission is early in its inception, but we're working on those bylaws. I sat and worked with the Arts Committee to start working with their bylaws and kind of gave the head of that committee some ideas of what they can think about. And so you'll start seeing more and more of these. I know when we passed the ordinance last year, it was intended that these things happen. They take time when you're writing some of these things from scratch and trying to make sure that you're addressing the individual needs of each group, and then also having the buy-in from them before we bring them. So these things are all in the works.
Thank you.
I don't think this will be that hard to remember. Prost is German for cheers.
Oh, is it? Look at that. Look at that.
Also a local microbrew. But
This is true.
we went from post to pro stack back to prost. So
When I served on the Carbon Valley Parks and Recreation District at the time, many years ago, we owned as an organization a special district, one park. And so we wrestled with each other for a year and a half on whether we should take the S out of parks and just have Carbon Valley Park and Recreation District. So I know how difficult it was to just put recreation in there.
the rest of it must be fine.
I
if that was the
know.
only thing that passed with it.
I like the clarification and the addition. I think it will do good things. All right, some direction on item H, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of Resolution 23R45, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Frederick, reestablishing the Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Commission and approving bylaws governing the operations of the commission.
Second.
A second.
Can I make?
Brown?
Oh, I'm sorry. One moment. Yes.
I want to tell. I've been part of the post commission and I want to recognize everybody that has worked on that commission and board. I think Colby, you have done a great job, and you've really kind of driven the whole thing. But yet, to see the people and the commission, as the mayor mentioned, people who are excited about our community and the possibility of parks and trails and the recreation coming to this community and the involvement. I was really impressed and very proud of them. Thank you very much, Colby, and the commission.
And I have a complaint against you, Colby. We were there at Frederick Recreation Area refresh to pick up trash, and there was not enough trash around it for us to pick up. Way too good. So, I wanted a big bag of, but I got a little bit. So
It took 3 days to figure out exactly how much trash to leave, and we just missed it.
But no, I agree. You've done a great job, and thanks for your team and for the Prost Commission work.
Could not be in better hands. So it's good news. Right. Please.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Feldy?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you, Colby and Prost. Prost. We need Steins.
Yes.
All right, our final agenda or action agenda item is item I. Jason.
All right, so this is really a board item, and so while I drafted the resolution at your request, I didn't want to utilize too many staff resources preparing presentations and things of that nature, because this involves the election as a part of the legal team that helps oversee and assist, not oversee, but assist in the legal interpretations and things of code. I wanted to make sure that it was clear that I've drafted it, but the discussion is yours to have. Under the Colorado Revised Statutes, you are allowed to, as a board on ballot issues, not on candidates, but on issues, you are allowed to have a position statement via resolution without it running afoul of the Fair Campaign Practices Act. So at your direction, I drafted the attached resolution, but if there's any additional changes or tweaks that you'd like to see before it's finalized, I can certainly make those on your behalf, and we can get it signed. I won't advocate for a position. I'll leave it all to you to determine what you'd like to do with the resolution.
Thank you.
Too late, I already voted.
Fair enough. All right, would anyone like to have any additional discussion on action item I, or do you all have necessary information for your potential resolution tonight? Good to go? Okay.
Simple.
All right, some direction on I, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend approval of Resolution 23R46, a resolution of the town of Frederick in support of the 2023 ballot measure 2C, inclusion of parks, trails, and related amenities in existing open space tax expenditures.
Second.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Trustee Feldy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem March?
Yes.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Those were all of our action agenda items tonight, so we can move right into trustee reports. Anyone have any trustee reports this evening?
I would like to see if there's any way, I don't know if it matters prior since the person's unopposed, but I would like to see if there's any way that we could invite the school board member who is running to replace Chico Garcia out just to meet them and get to know them, as they'll be serving our area and kind of getting to find out and getting to know them a little bit. Again, they are running unopposed, so it's not like they're not going to be the new person. So it'd be great to meet them in the coming weeks. But I'd like to see that happen sooner than later if we can extend that invitation just to get to know them. Since I know we'll be working with them, there's likelihood they'll be on one of
Pura
and all that.
yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. We canceled all of our meetings from like now until January,
Yeah.
so good timing. That would be nice.
What's the name?
I am not 100% sure.
Probably why you'd like to meet them.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That would be a good idea.
Start with a name.
That's a really good plan. Thank you for that recommendation. Okay. Any other trustee reports?
I don't have anything.
Nope. No. Brian, Jason, Ryan, Kobe, Renee, Kevin, anyone?
Just a very brief, exciting announcement. I don't know if this individual has communicated with their respective law firm of whether or not that communications happened, but we do have a deputy town attorney starting on November 20th. And so I'm very excited about that individual coming on board. They have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to land use matters, as well as some of the prosecution functions that I'd like to make sure that we can bring some of that in-house, do some things more efficiently in terms of time and money spent. Fairfield and Woods does a phenomenal job, but we can do a lot more with less money by having that in-house. So we'll make sure that that individual gets to know the board, because they'll be taking the lead on a lot of those land use projects and advisement of staff, and hopefully creating some efficiencies in doing so. And then by extension, with the ongoing land use code updates and municipal code updates, having some additional legal resources to help get through the sausage making process of code updates will be helpful.
Great.
Real win. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
What would the transition then with current council look like?
So we're going to have that discussion here in coming weeks. So we just set the start date yesterday. So she was going to reach out to her firm and handle that process, and I want to be respectful of that, and not have anybody find out through the grapevine through me. That's her story to tell. But we're going to have those discussions as to what that looks like and how do we make that transition as smooth as possible.
Thank you. Congratulations. It's exciting. Anything from y'all's team?
Just to mention, the town clerk position is posted, so we have it out there for, I think we'll reevaluate after a couple of weeks, but it is out, posted on the professional websites, including CML, ICMA, Municipal Clerks Association. We also have a meeting next week with our potential contractor that will be handling the elections. So I suspect before the 14th meeting, I should have a draft schedule of all the things that we need to do and to ensure that all of that stuff is taken care of. But we're going to ask for a timeline, and we'll provide that to the board as well to ensure all of that's taken care of.
You know whether or not we're going to have any in-house applicants?
I don't know at this point, but we should know in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Interesting. May I ruffle a feather or two?
Ooh, I like it.
Please? Sorry. It's my job, people. Can we talk about County Road 5 on when we're planning on the next traffic study or assessment on whether we should evaluate whether the speed limit is currently too high? Can we talk about that, what the pace of that is? That would be really helpful to know so that we can get that answer out to some families as soon as possible. And then we really need to see the crosswalks installed in at least 2, potentially 3 locations we've been discussing for a matter of time. So those need to be taken care of as soon as possible. And whatever you need from us to make that happen, tell us.
We'll get it moving. I do know on the county road, I know we had a counter outlet this spring. We were supposed to get one out there in the fall. So I'll follow up with the team tomorrow and make sure that there's one out there. I know I was out there as well as Trustee Lamont the other day. In all fairness, when you see the trucks going 45,
yeah,
it's it is something that we do need to analyze and get back to them.
Yeah.
So absolutely, make that a priority.
Thank you. Well, and to be clear, when 16 and a half opens up, more trucks will go down that road, of course, and use it to get to Anderson Farm if needed. But to be clear, I do not believe that this board has entertained the conversation of anything outside of the speed limit change or potential change at this point. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think once Anderson Farms finishes their situation going on for the fall,
Yeah, it should get a little bit better.
it'd be a lot better. I mean, when I was out there, yeah, I was able to hit 40 miles an hour on that road, and I was kicking up a lot of dust.
Right. It's interesting.
I went out there and I was
I
going.
think
Yeah.
I could go 50 on there.
Well, yeah. I grew up on dirt roads, so like that's where you learn how to drive.
that's a quick car.
Yeah.
Washboard.
Yeah.
Washboards will slow them down.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can sympathize with them, but if at any, from my understanding, we're not considering the speed limit change because of dust. It's safety. Yes, that's why we're considering a speed limit change. Okay. Okay, great. All right. Any other matters to address this evening?
I lied. I do have one thing.
Okay.
I forgot all about it.
Okay.
Brian, would you please pass my thank you to your staff? They got the crosswalk in down there on Frederick Way, and St. Vrain.
Good.
They got it in. They put it in sometime today.
Good.
Down there, so they got the crosswalk and the sign, and
At
my neighbor
Frederick
come
and
ripping over
St.
there and tagged me before I
Well,
I
good.
left. Said, you got the crosswalk in. Thank you. So
Good.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
a heavy trafficked area, so good.
getting more. So
We've also gotten some complaints at CDOT's right away, but trying to address the weeds.
the one on Frederick and 52.
Yeah.
Oh, that was another one I was gonna call you on that. So
You saved yourself a phone call.
yeah.
Look at that. Just,
Smaller than the signs.
Oh yeah, my wife was telling me about we needed to address those. Wait.
oh, we could write a book about weeds.
Yes.
Town.
These
We
babies
could
are-
write a book.
Well, we can mention that and talk about the control of the weeds over there quite a bit.
That's bad.
Yeah, we'll get it fixed. Okay. Anything else? No? All right. Thank you. We'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Yes.
Not on Halloween. No.
Not on Halloween. No, thank
Darn,
you.
I was
We're
looking forward
adjourned.
to see